Hello everyone. This is Anna, and this is Mars Talks. Today with us, and he will join us shortly, is Stephen Campbell, who is the co-founder and CEO of Tiny Acquisitions, is a serial entrepreneur, a writer, and a big believer in no-code tools. Today we're going to be talking, of course, about the strategies for early stage startups and their founders, and how to approach acquisitions and how to basically sell their businesses. And okay, so Stephen is joining us. Okay, just a sec. But we do have a comment on that already, and it's a really good one, and I would love to read it out loud. So it's an interesting subject because nearly always every small business owner never thinks of his personal or professional exit strategy. And when asked questions regarding exit strategy, 9% of the founders don't even consider it and don't think it's possible. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, are we another time live already?
Yeah, I started a little bit without you and gave you a bit of an introduction, but it's great that you joined. I was just talking about the fact that very few founders actually think about their exit strategy and think about the possibility of selling their businesses early on. So thank you for agreeing to talk about it. I think it's really important to to give a sense that selling a business is not always a bad thing. It doesn't mean a failure. It may just think moving on to the next venture. But yeah, first of all, of course, welcome. And could you please introduce yourself and tell us what you're building?
Okay, so I think you mentioned that I'm Stephen Campbell already. Yeah, I'm Stephen Campbell. I would say I created Tiny Acquisitions. It's hosted on tinyacquisitions.com. It's a marketplace for buyers and sellers, makers alike, to exchange tiny projects that they have built, and for some reason or the other want to get an exit from it, and we facilitate that exchange on the platform.
Okay, that's amazing. So I think it's the right time for such business. Micro acquire is everywhere. It's super big. Everyone knows about it. So are you competing with it, or are you targeting smaller businesses?
I think I would be ignorant in saying that we're not competing, but so we are competing, but I think micro acquire appeals to the niche that is above ours in terms of the exit price, the amount that person's exit at. So they're go into the millions, hundreds of thousands, and I know that person's exit at it can be 4 figures as well. But we tend to target makers, really and truly those persons who may not have reached very far with their idea. It makes some amount of money, maybe even no money at all. It's pre-revenue. We appeal to those sellers, and we appeal to buyers who want small projects to integrate into their business, or to take that project to the next level and scale it, because the seller maybe didn't have the ability to scale it themselves.
Okay, that's very interesting. So how did you first come up with this idea? What was your background before that? And I know there have been a few projects that you built previously.
Right. So I have been in the no-code space, like the maker, the creator space, where these developers online kind of make small projects. They're moving into SaaS, micro SaaS mostly now, but they make these tiny small projects online, and it's to solve some problem that, you know, a wide range of people have online, and they monetize it and make some kind of money from it, and also help thousands of people, you know. And, you know, we can see on various platforms, Reddit, you know, Hacker News, indiehackers.com, you know, even on Twitter, there are these makers who build these projects. So I would say I find myself in that space. But before I got into that, my background was really process engineering, you know, more doing advanced calculations about, you know, process optimization and that kind of thing. But I found myself in this space because there's a creative side to me, and I wanted to explore that. And that's how I ended up doing this development, you know, course that I'm on now. I'm on a path to becoming like a software engineer. I don't have the qualifications right now, but I'm on that path where the end result is software engineering, but I'm just a developer at this stage, you know, manipulating no-code tools.
Okay, so and Tiny Acquisitions is fully no code.
That's correct. That's correct.
Right. What tools are you using?
So the main tool behind Tiny Acquisitions is Bubble, bubble.io, bubble.com. And, you know, that's the entire platform that Tiny is built on. We integrate with a lot of other tools to make everything function. I mean, we have various parts to Tiny Acquisitions. And, you know, another platform that we have developed months after launching Tiny Acquisitions is our exchange platform, and that's a coded project. But Tiny Acquisitions, the main function of Tiny Acquisition runs completely on Bubble. I would say that's the main tool.
All right, and obviously, you know, since Mars is low code, I want to ask you about why you chose no code, and then why your next project is coded. So, do you see some kind of ceiling that you're about to hit with Bubble and with Tiny Acquisitions, or why? What was the reason for you to move to coding?
So why choosing no code first is just my limitation, I guess. I didn't have the skill to do it coded. So I started by learning no code, which I think is a quick way to get a product launched if you have the idea and you don't have some technical person get it done for you. Like that was the case with me. I just chose no code, and that was a time when no code was really hot. You know, it was a hot trend on Twitter, and I kind of just stumbled onto it. I was like, hey, I've been building with WordPress. These apps can allow me to build more, you know, complicated technical features that I couldn't do before. So that's how I ended up in no code. And moving to coded to the exchange platform being coded is out of necessity. I mean, it would be technical for me to, and time consuming for me to execute that while I was operating the Tiny Acquisition. So we got a developer on contract to just develop that part of it for us. And because we were also thinking of moving to code, I wouldn't say we reached a ceiling, but it's out of necessity based on how we see the vision of Tiny Acquisitions. We want to be a lot more flexible, be able to integrate with a lot more frameworks, and maybe hand over this project to somebody in the future who, you know, by far and large, coding is the mainstream way. So we had that direction thinking about that. But no code is pretty good. I mean, we have 11,000 users, and when we think of a high traffic scenario, it holds up pretty well, and we've been able to execute with no code pretty well. So that has been good.
That sounds amazing. I mean, especially like you said, with no technical founders and the first-time founders, I think it's a great solution. And it's amazing that you shared these numbers. You know, 11,000 users. So obviously, this is already growing pretty fast. And I read your article or no, sorry, that was a video, which says that you're growing 30% monthly. And that is huge. So this is obviously very interesting, but let's come back a little bit to, to the point zero. So how did you go from 0 to 1, or maybe 0 to 10 users?
Okay, so that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
So we're not growing at 30% right now. At one point, that was the instantaneous number, but on average, we're about maybe 10% thereabout now, month over month. But yeah, going from 0 to 1, it was just an idea. I threw it out on Twitter. Microacquire was there at the time, they were doing their thing. I was trying to sell a project on Microacquire, and it was just, I thought it wasn't big enough, like, because I was getting, inquiries on, the project that I posted on Microacquire, but it just wasn't, the conversation wasn't transitioning. So I was like, maybe Microacquire isn't suited for these kinds of exits, just a small exit. And I just kind of threw it out there to the local community. What do you think about this idea? And it really resonated with a lot of people. I was like, I'm going to do this thing in the next 4 weeks and see what happens. I had no plans to monetize it. I did a Notion document that was a couple of paragraphs on the vision. And, I was saying this is going to be completely free for everybody to use and all of that. And I mean, we have deviated so far from that. No, so it was just an idea, throwing it out there, and persons giving the feedback, hey, this would be good. And just building it over 4 weeks. And then it really took off. I mean, somebody posted it on Hacker News, and we started getting users like crazy, almost overnight. And I think that person picked it up on Twitter, which I was just talking about it. So it's getting the idea out there, getting that kind of fit with, and it resonating with the community, and just building it right away.
Right. How long ago was it?
That was in 2021. That was about June 2021. So we've been over a year.
A little over a year. Awesome. And yeah, it's great that you mentioned, building it to basically just having a bit of structure and basically building a platform, right? But how did you structure everything else? Because you're working with a lot of different projects globally, right? You're selling them, or they sell themselves on the platform, right? So how does it work legally? Do you have to comply with lots of regulations and laws and taxes? How did you manage that?
Okay, so as a business, I work with a partner of mine who has an LLC, which owns a portion of tinyacquisitions.com, and I also own a part of tinyacquisitions.com. And we operate through our LLCs in terms of, paying our taxes. When money goes through our accounts, it's through our LLCs. But when a person sells a project on the platform and they receive funds from us, we get the funds from the buyer and then hand that over to the seller. The seller is responsible for receiving the funds in their country and handling their own, doing their due diligence in paying their taxes and whatever regulation they have in their country. They have to get that done. But Stripe does provide some sort of cushion for us. They don't have a structured escrow or exchange process, but just holding funds for a particular time, we have that ability, and releasing funds to persons at will, we can do that. So we utilize Stripe.com as our money handling machine, and we work with their regulations in terms of how they deal with other countries, and we put that on our users and that's how we deal with our users based on how Stripe deal with users in that particular country. So we we basically piggyback on what Stripe does for different countries.
Right. Oh, that's good. Yeah, that probably a lot safer for you. So you don't really
Exactly.
need anybody behind the screen, right? Just handling this all for you.
Exactly, because I think anytime you exchange money online, there's a lot of regulation, right?
Yeah.
And different governments have different policies. It's very important to know where you stand and what you're doing online. We just stand in between two parties exchanging an asset and funds between themselves. We merely just facilitate that exchange. And whatever we collect as a commission or any funds we collect as membership fees, we would have to handle our business with respect to the country that we operate out of.
Okay. All right. That's understandable. So could you walk me through like the whole process? If say I'm the founder of a small, I don't know, landing page builder, and I have my 100 users, my 100 customers, and I'm making $1,000 a month. But maybe I don't want it anymore. I want to build a hotel for dogs. So let's sell it. How do I do that with Tiny Acquisition?
So you come on, you create an account, and you go through the listing process where you basically post the name, the URL, the description, what price you want to sell for. We allow persons to get a valuation. It's not something that is built in, but we refer this other calculator for them to evaluate what their project is, and they can post that as the price. They can integrate well, not yet, but we will allow persons soon to integrate their Stripe account, and we can pull their revenue numbers and display it on a graph. We allow persons to display their Google Analytics on a graph, as well as add, analytics links and just everything about the project. Right. And they go through a review process with us where we push the project either live based on our acceptance or approval of the project, or we say, hey, these are the things that are not aligned with our platform and we wouldn't post this right now. And once that goes live, there are persons that are on the platform looking for projects. We have a feature where users get a notification when a new project goes live. So they immediately can get offers, inquiries, and buyers can reach out to them. We also have a newsletter that we send out once a week, and we list, we handpick a few projects that are, seemingly based on our experience, we know that they will do well. We put them in that newsletter and send it out to our 7,000 buyers. And, persons sell projects like that. They get offers and they accept them. And everything is handled online.
Okay. And so basically, what is your business model behind it? Do you get a cut from the sale, or is it something else?
So we do take a small fee from the sale. I mean, we use Stripe, as well as sometimes we have to do wire transfers. So we take a small fee for the payment processing. But our main model for monetization is charging a membership fee to our buyers. So for the buyers to have access to message the sellers, they have to pay a membership fee to us, and it's on a recurring basis. So we have an annual fee every 6 months, as well as a lifetime plan where persons can sign up as premium members with Tiny Acquisitions, and they can maintain their membership for years.
Okay, that's very interesting. I think it's a bit different to what everyone else is doing. But yeah, also like very interesting point that you're selling. Basically, you're trying to acquire and retain buyers, as far as I understand, more than sellers.
It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
I mean, buyers won't come to us if there aren't sellers, you know. If there are new projects being posted, the buyers won't have anything to grab. So we do have a strategy to retain buyers, but we do have um, marketing and copy to attract sellers, you know. When we just started, we focused on sellers, you know. Our
Yeah.
mandate, our mantra was to help makers get an exit, because I'm a maker. I have that problem, and that was the problem that I was trying to solve. But without buyers, the sellers can't get an exit. So it's a
Right.
delicate thing that we have to do. And we spend money to run ads to attract both sides, both buyers and sellers. So it's something that we have to maintain at all times for the marketplace to keep running.
Right, absolutely. So it's great that you mentioned buying ads. What else are you doing on that, marketing slash growth kind of spectrum?
So we have a blog as well. And from time to time, we would search for keywords, based on what we are seeing with the visitors from Google and other places. We know that they are searching for particular keywords, and tiny acquisitions is popping up.
Right.
We take those keywords and we write blog posts. And then we post some of these blog posts on various platforms. We encourage, like, built into our platform is kind of like a viral loop. So once a project goes live, they have the ability to share the link to that project, which invites either buyers or more sellers, right? And when we send out our newsletter, we share the links of the projects. So when someone sees this project in the wild, they'll be directed back to Tiny Acquisitions. And even doing this interview and many other interviews and accepting, invitations to, write articles and so on, that's a part of our marketing strategy as well. So we have been doing a lot of things just to get Tiny Acquisitions out there and to keep this organic flow of traffic coming in.
Right. Oh, I think it's amazing. It's super sustainable, and I guess in the long run, it's just a better tactic. But it's great that you mentioned, writing and to go into interviews. You're now a writer, right? So you have a book, and yeah, and I'm still getting to it. But yeah, maker mindset. What is it about? And basically, how did you come up with an idea of writing a book?
So I have been in the space for a while, and I have seen the pitfalls of some makers, and I've seen some makers become very successful. And there is something that one maker does that the other doesn't do. And I wanted to kind of document how, from my perspective, I see some makers doing some things, and to give tips and kind of tricks to makers for them to escape what I call the maker mindset in some kind of sense. Although it's inescapable, it can be escaped, but you can push back against some things. For example, I think makers will always want to build something new, right? Even if they haven't reached the full potential of what they're working on now, there's that temptation to stop and start something new, and it's just not sustainable. Tiny Acquisitions is one of the solutions to that. So you can sell that thing that you're working on now to start something new. And so I recommend in my book the build to sell approach. So that's one of the solutions to counteract that part of the maker mindset that I think is inescapable, right?
Yeah.
And also, it's one of my monetization strategies as well, because there's this creator, Ben Eisen, I think is his name, yes. And he speaks of the hyper freelance model, where you have a product, you have consultancy, and you also have like an info product as well. right? So the book would be my info product. I do some consultation, and Tiny Acquisition is my software product. So that book would just complete that trilogy, that kind of trinity to have the hyper freelance model to help in my business endeavors. So in my book, I also speak of Tiny Acquisitions, which is a marketing strategy, and I put some thoughts there to help makers. And everything works together to build this creative business that I have.
That's amazing. And what is Tiny Academy?
Okay, so Tiny Academy is one of the byproducts of Tiny Acquisitions that we came up with. We wanted sellers, and this is the value we try to add to sellers as well. We wanted certain sellers to be in a group where they have proven that they build projects quickly and at a high quality. And we wanted them to interact with each other and build projects continually to sell on Tiny Acquisitions. So we started Tiny Academy as a Discord channel, and we would encourage, makers to continue building. The intent was to share resources, share kind of some insider details on what's going on Tiny Acquisition, what sells, what kind of software to use, and what kind of tool to use. And that was kind of a value added to our sellers. So it's not very, very active right now, but that was the intent in launching Tiny Academy. And it's still there on the site.
I think it's beautiful. I mean, building a community is a great growth strategy. And again, in the long run, I think it's very sustainable. So I think it's a great idea.
Right. And what we would do as well, we would give our sellers a Tiny Academy badge, right? And we call them super creators to indicate to our buyers that these guys have sold projects consistently on our platform. Maybe you should check them out, and that badge would give the seller an advantage and to keep on selling projects and continue that cycle of project sales.
Oh, that's awesome. I think we should definitely, think about integrating your community into Mars community and basically give them another layer of opportunity. But yeah, it's while we were waiting for you, I actually mentioned one of the comments that was there on LinkedIn, and I'm going to give it to you one more time. So it's a great topic because nearly always no small business owner thinks of his personal or professional exit strategy. And you being one of the owners, that actually had an exit before, right? How do you approach it? Like, how do you actually plan this, right? How do you plan to exit your business? How do you plan your next adventure?
Okay, so I write about this as well. This is very tricky because you're tempted to hug up that baby that you started. And even if you want to sell it eventually, like how you operate it from the very beginning determines how well you can exit from it. So I think there are two ways to start a project or a business. You can start by playing by ear, going along with, the set track that is there, or you think of the end at the beginning. So I think someone who wants an exit, definitely, and sooner than later, always builds with an intent to hand over. So a simple thing as setting up your email in such a way that it doesn't interact with your personal emails and even other businesses. So you build this project by itself over here. So if you are using, say, Stripe as a payment processing tool, you wouldn't start the project with a Stripe account that you have already. You start it with a new Stripe account.
Right.
So when you're ready to hand over, you can just hand over the credentials. You store all the information in a particular email inbox and so on. So those are the nitty-gritty. But on a broader scope, on the macro now, you're thinking about who your buyer would be and trying to get close to that buyer in terms of having that buyer see what you're doing ever so often and keep on launching features that will be valuable to that buyer. If you haven't identified a buyer or maybe a company that you want to exit with, you could just think of what would be the most valuable thing that I could do today that someone would want to get in their business, right? And that is a part of my work ethic because I do want to exit. So I keep on launching features that would increase the value of tiny acquisitions and increase when I speak to, say, someone who is ready to buy, I can say, here's what we have done. And this is the proof of that. And it would be much more, it would be a much higher selling point to speak in that way. Because I've seen persons wanting to exit, but like 3 months before the exit, there's no analytics. The revenue falls, they've stopped communicating with their customers. And that could mean a big difference in the selling price for a business. I think giving up leverage in that, indicating that you want to sell is a thing too. It's tricky because they say closed mouths don't get fed. You want to indicate that you want to sell for someone to approach you. At the same time, you don't want to give up that leverage for someone to think, what's happening? Is it something wrong?
Yeah.
That is happening? You want to keep that leverage. So I think you can indicate that you want to sell by not saying exactly that you want to sell, right? You're putting a hint here and there, but you keep on building as if I'm going to be doing this for 10 years. This is so valuable, and you don't give up that leverage. So when you're ready to sell, you still have that value and that conversation.
Okay. And do you think that, building your brand, building your persona behind the project and having maybe previous experience of acquisition gives you more leverage and makes it basically just easier to sell every other time?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I mean, someone wants to inherit a business from someone that is trustworthy. They want to have a good handover process. They want to know that they aren't being cheated in any way. So I think putting a narrative out there that is true, a true narrative of yourself out there, and representing yourself in such a way that you're a diligent business operator, it would prove to be very helpful in the getting the next person to want to be interested. Because although you're building a business, I think persons have to realize that they also have to build their personal brand alongside it. We are in the internet age where a name comes up and you Google that name. You want to see the person's work. You want to see what they're about. You want to get information on them. You have to build a personal brand alongside building your business.
Okay. So what exactly are you doing? We know already what you're doing on the brand side, right? So what are their actionable advice could you give to the founders that they can do in order to prepare?
Like for an exit?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would say documentation is important, very important. I am a developer myself using no-code tools, and it's very difficult to document. I'm not the best at it either. And I wouldn't say I do a whole lot of documentation. But I know that when you want to indicate to somebody what this thing is about, a document would be perfect, right? Going further, just a video log of everything in terms of the operations. You could just screen record something in the back end. You could screen record a process, and you have that in archive updated. And when someone approaches you, you can just send that to them. You don't have to be at that point creating and writing documents and a part of the deal being you staying on for a year to hand over. If the buyer is confident that these documents will be enough for me to operate in the next 6 months to a year, it kind of frees up your time in the handover process. You can just give a month or two to hand over. So I think documentation is very, very important. Let's see here. I think also maintaining a network, right? I get a lot of LinkedIn messages, Twitter messages, and sometimes that can be overbearing. Like, you don't want to reply, but you just never know who is reaching out to you. You never know who is wanting to connect with you. And maybe someone that you accept inside of your network, let's say on LinkedIn, while you are talking about your business, talking about your brand and what you are doing, they become interested and become a business partner in the future. So being open, I almost respond to every message. It's kind of strange, but I just don't know who is reaching out. So at the level I am at now, I can do that. I don't have 100,000 followers, but I can speak to one person, one or two or three persons each week, and just invite them into my network. And you never know what can happen. So being open with people and welcoming conversations and replying on time, it's such an important thing to not ghost people, right? They send you an email and you just don't reply, or you started a conversation and you're just not interested and don't reply. It's better to say, I'm not interested right now, or,
right.
I've had this experience where persons have reached out with copies of stuff that I'm doing. And it's kind of upsetting that you'd want to copy something I'm doing or build something close. I have this idea, it's just like yours. What do you think about it? I mean, I'm not happy. I'm not happy about you building something that I am already doing. But if you look past that, they really respect your work. Right. And they really just want to get your opinion because they are inspired somehow by what you do. So being open and understanding that people are not inherently trying to compete with you or crush on you or just ask. They're just people. And once you be open, I think it can leave something good and it sets you up for opportunities in the future.
Right. No, absolutely. 100% agree. We actually had a really funny story in our experience. First was my personal one when I was a startup founder, and I reached out to an investor, and he just point blank told me, this is complete, it doesn't deserve my attention. So I'm not going to waste my time on that. And it was like, okay, I can move on. Good. And John, who's the founder of Mars, reached out to another investor 10 years ago, and he never replied. So, and he replied last week, and he said, good idea.
Wow.
So, 10 years.
Wow.
Sometimes you have to wait for an investor.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so another, I think, a really interesting topic and really interesting point that I'd love to ask your opinion about is Tiny Acquisitions has quite a few startups on it that have very little to zero traction, right? So how do you approach your exit strategy when you when you haven't really entered the business yet?
So it's something that is new. I mean, like, let's talk about microacquire. They don't accept pre-revenue projects, right? And I guess, understandably, it's not a very good market for business because you won't get a margin on it, right? It's very low and you won't sell for a high price. But it goes back to what I was saying before, that when we started, we were just trying to help the maker, right? And a part of it too is helping with revenue challenges, cash flow challenges. If you can get $2,000, maybe that can buy 3 months for you to work on something next. No, the challenge is not having traction and expecting an exit. Honestly, some projects just won't sell. And we have over 500 projects listed. And so far, maybe 60 have sold, and not all of that 60 has been sold on platform. We have a feature where you can just mark the project as sold. So it's a very small percentage that actually gets sold, right? I think though, and I'll use one of our best sellers as a case in point and a case study, because he has sold projects and none of them have revenue, and he has done over 10K in selling projects. Now, the project has some inherent value, right? It helps some aspect of the market, and it's at the idea stage, but it's tangible, for want of a better word. There's a URL, there's a design there, and there's functionality. Now, a good business person sees that as an opportunity, because let's say someone wants to go into the AI space. AI is hot now, using Stable Diffusion to generate, profile pics. Someone is selling that on tiny acquisitions for $1,500, but it hasn't made any revenue, hasn't got any traffic or whatever it is. A business person knows that for me to get a developer, to hire a developer to build this, it would take maybe 3 months and 50,000 US. Why not buy it for 1,500 and just use this as a risk? And let's see if we can market this thing and scale this thing. So it's kind of appealing to getting the diamond in the rough, like a garage sale kind of business, and to get buyers to pick out the valuable ones out of all the businesses that are there. And there is opportunity in that. There is opportunity in that.
Sure. Okay, that's amazing. That gives, I think, a lot of the founders hope that everything's possible. But so far, what was the biggest win and the biggest failure for Tiny Acquisitions?
I think the biggest win was hitting 100K revenue after 1 year. I mean, I would never have imagined that I could see that on my Stripe dashboard. I just building something, and we have a team behind us, and we market and so on. But I just never imagined I would hit that in the 1 year period. So that was huge for me, and it indicated that we really built something significant. No, I would say I don't see failures as failures, right? It's just my perspective. I see everything as
biggest bump on the road.
Right. So I would say one of the biggest things that we have struggled with is solving the problem that we set out to solve and identifying what problem we're solving. Because I think product market fit hinges on solving the actual problem that is there. So sometimes we have periods where, business is still happening, but we're not growing as fast. I think that growth aspect is that biggest thing that we need to overcome. Growing fast in such a way that we are making a huge impact. We have an impact, but not a huge impact. And I think it's the product market fit challenge, right? Persons will say, yeah, Tiny Acquisition has product market fit. But from my perspective, there is still a problem that we are not solving. And we need to keep on pushing and evolving, and being nimble and being able to change direction when we need to, right? And that is hard because being comfortable, getting 100K revenue, hey, we're doing something right. Let's not change so quickly. But I think change has to happen very fast, and maybe we have struggled with that a bit.
Okay. All right. Well, so in your experience, what was the insight that you bring from business to business and you think that could help early stage founders?
Insight from business to business. Oh, yes. Stop overthinking it, Don't overthinking it. Just build it. Just build the thing and put it out there. I mean, you'll never know until you put it out there. I think I haven't had the opportunity to make a lot of mistakes in terms of spending a long time working through something, because my goal is to always generate revenue right away. I'm doing this full time. So I've always had to just put the thing out there, like not think twice. And, being in my room saying, oh, I wonder if this will, make it. So shipping fast, being ahead of the curve, and just not getting comfortable. I mean, I could get comfortable now and say, oh yeah, I built this platform. We're gonna do well for the next 3 years. No. I have to every day get up and think, what am I not doing? How do I need to operate differently? And how do I need to upskill myself? I need more skills. I need to understand it. I need to keep reading. I need to keep getting more information from other founders and getting their perspective. So I listen to podcasts, I read books, try to keep myself on the cutting edge and not be comfortable. So shipping fast and just not being comfortable and investing and upskilling, keep on growing. I would say that.
Great. Thank you so much. And what is your biggest inspiration?
What is my biggest inspiration? It sounds like a deep question.
I would say family, or I don't know, other businesses, more money, opportunities.
Okay. I would say on a day-to-day, it's the fact that time is so short. That has to be my biggest inspiration. Time is running out. 90 years is not a long time. It's really not. I mean, I still think that my immediate memories are 10 years ago. I haven't caught up to like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, because time is just moving so quickly, right? So before you know it, you have moved from one stage to the next and you haven't maximized because you thought that you had so much time. No, there is a balance to it. You can't get in your head about time too much. But I think for me, doing a book, doing a product, upskilling, getting things done efficiently and in a timely manner is because I understand that there is a productive time that I have and I must make use of it, right? So time, I would say, is one of my biggest inspirations.
That's beautiful. I think it's an amazing one. And just one more, who is your inspiration and who maybe you would love to see here on the podcast?
I think Peter Levels, I have to say that. Peter Levels has been a huge inspiration. I don't know him personally, I see him on Twitter. But I remember watching a video with him when he was saying how he did 12 projects in 12 months. And that just blew my mind. I was like, wait, maybe I could do this. And that was the inspiration to build the first project that I started building, because he's saying, don't overthink it, just get it out there, And I would say even now, just seeing what he does, he doesn't care. He's just building. And that's very inspiring to me. And it's something that I would love to emulate.
Okay, then fingers crossed we get him.
We should,
All right.
we should.
Thank you, Stephen. It's been a blast talking to you today. Thank you so much for all the insights, all the information that you shared about tiny acquisitions, and that would help immensely to early stage founders.
Thank you for having me, Anna. Thanks for the invitation.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and yeah, hopefully we get to do it again sometime.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.